Take another look at Sally Carrera, at this perfectly polite, calm, composed car who runs a little motel by the road in a town the whole world has forgotten. And ask yourself one simple question that won't let me go. Where does a car like that get such polished manners? Where does that poise come from? That ability to switch from an icy tone to a warm smile in a single second? People who've spent their whole lives in a quiet place don't behave like that. People who've spent a very long time learning very carefully how to keep up appearances behave like that. People who got used to the fact that how you present yourself decides far too much. Most people look at Sally and just see a racer's sweet girlfriend, the main character's love interest, a big city lawyer who got tired of the hustle, dropped everything, and settled in Radiator Springs. A pretty she found herself story. And this is where it starts to get strange, because the longer I think about her, the less it looks like a story about being tired of the big city, and the more it looks like a story about someone running from something. She didn't come to rest, she hid. Look, here's what got me. A car who really has it all together doesn't bury herself in a godforsaken town on an old highway that got wiped off the map. You go there when you need to disappear, when you need your old life not to find you. And if you put that together with a couple of details Pixar literally showed us on screen, you get a picture that makes her familiar image start to come apart at the seams. A picture of who Sally was before she became the Sally we know. This is, of course, just my guess. I'll be honest about that up front. There's no official confirmation here, but the details are real, they're in the movie, and when you line them up, your brain fills in the rest. By the way, this is Mr. Blessed, and today we're going to break down who Sally Carrera might really have been. Not the surface version, the one she tries very hard not to show anyone. Let's start with the fact that her past is presented to us as a dream career. A lawyer, high class, big city, an expensive life. Sounds respectable. But here's the catch, she barely tells us anything about that life. Think about it. Someone who's genuinely proud of their career usually talks about it, brags about cases, clients, wins, but Sally brushes it off with vague phrases. Was a lawyer, got tired, left, period. After that, a wall. And that after that, a wall sounds suspicious to me. That's not how you talk about work you're proud of. That's how you talk about a life you rewrote from scratch. When your past has a chapter you tore out and burned, you don't go into detail. You call yourself the version that's safer. Lawyer is pretty, it's respectable, it closes every question. Nobody's going to dig deeper if you say I was a lawyer. But my theory is that lawyer is exactly that new repaired version. The final stage. Who she became when she got out. Not where she started. Because to get from the very bottom up to lawyer, you need a journey. A long, hard one. Through shame and gritted teeth. And it's exactly that kind of journey that explains why she's so composed. Why she's so hard to rattle. Why she can put a cocky newcomer like McQueen in his place with one look and a minute later be soft and warm. That's not something you're born with. You learn it when you had to survive very early among people you had to keep at a distance and charm at the same time. And that's when it hit me. Her calm isn't peace, it's armor. Very well fitted armor. The kind you wear for years until it grows into you. And here's where most people don't look. At the tattoo. Sally has a tattoo. A pinstripe. A thin line along her body. The movie shows it in passing, like a cute detail, as if it's just style, just decoration. And almost nobody stops on this question. Where did it even come from? Think about what a tattoo means for a car in this universe. It's not the factory paint job you were born with. It's not what you rolled off the assembly line with. It's something you do to yourself, deliberately. It's a mark. And here's the picture that takes shape. A calm, respectable lawyer from a respectable world, would she ink that on herself? In that world, a tattoo is more the kind of thing you hide than something you flaunt. But Sally wears hers calmly, doesn't hide it, like she made peace with it a long time ago. And if my guess is right, then that line isn't decoration. It's a trace, a reminder of the life she crawled out of. The very chapter she tore out of her biography but never managed to erase from her body. And it seems didn't want to. People who've been through the bottom and made it out often keep one mark like that for themselves. not to brag, to remember where they rose from, to never let themselves slide back. And when you look at her tattoo from that angle, it stops being just a pretty stripe. It becomes the most honest detail in her whole image, the one piece of truth she didn't paint over. Honestly, when this dawned on me, I just sat there for a while staring at one spot. Because all her restraint suddenly had a reason. You don't learn to carry yourself like that from a good life. You learn it when you can't relax for a single second. And that explains everything that came before. Now the question that asks itself, why Radiator Springs specifically? Of all the places on Earth, why here? And this is the moment everything falls into place. A town on a dead highway. They built the bypass, the flow of cars went away, and Radiator Springs literally vanished off the maps. Nobody turns off there anymore. Nobody arrives by accident. For most of the residents, it's a tragedy they were forgotten. But for someone running from their past, it's the perfect hideout. A place where nobody recognizes you. Where there are no old acquaintances, nobody who remembers you as someone else. Where you can start with a clean slate and become anyone. A retired lawyer even. Or the owner of a cozy motel. And to me, that's not a coincidence. Sally didn't stumble onto this town. It looks like she chose it precisely because it's invisible. A quiet harbor for someone who badly needed to lie low and stop drawing attention. And notice what she took up there. A motel. The wheel well, an old place by the road that she fixed up and runs. A place where travelers stop, spend the night, and move on. Some will say, well, a motel's a motel. But I look at this and think, a person chooses an occupation that's familiar to them. Hospitality, receiving guests, the ability to create an atmosphere where the customer feels welcome and wants to come back. That's exactly the skill set that, by my theory, she already had. Only now it works in the honest, clean version. An old trade rewritten from scratch. And that, by the way, is very human to take the one thing you know how to do and make something out of it you don't have to be ashamed of. Listen, it's really strange how everything lines up when you look at it from this angle, but what comes next is a whole separate story. Because there's also the way she behaves at her first meeting with McQueen. Remember it. A cocky, self-absorbed stranger shows up. A star who thinks the whole world owes him. And how does Sally handle him? She doesn't rudely shut him down. She isn't afraid of him. She instantly reads his type and starts playing ahead of him cold in one place, hooking him with a smile in another, seeming to step back in another so he'll follow on his own. She works that situation so easily, like she's done it 1,000 times, and that 1,000 times is what got me. An ordinary, quiet motel owner would get flustered in front of a visiting celebrity. But not Sally. She's in her element. She knows how to keep the attention of a car who's used to being the one who gets all the attention. Knows when to step closer, when to pull back, when to let him figure it out for himself. And here's my guess. That's not just personality. It's a skill. An old, practiced skill of charming and keeping your distance at the same time. The kind of thing they don't teach you in law school. The kind of thing a completely different life teaches you, where the ability to command attention wasn't a game, but a way to survive. I'll stress it again, this is all my speculation. But it's funny that this is exactly how it looks in the scene. She's leading him, not the other way around. And she does it with the ease of someone who knows this dance by heart. And now the part almost nobody noticed. Put it all together. A car who doesn't talk about her past. A mark on her body she gave herself and wears as a reminder. An escape to a town that isn't on the map. A trait of hospitality she remade into an honest one. And an innate, honed ability to manage other people's attention. Separately little things. You can wave each one off, but together they don't paint a sweet lawyer tired of the city. They paint a car with a past she buried, and that still shows through in her every move. For anyone who still hasn't gotten it, she either has a very sordid past or a hard one. I think she was either a stripper or a call girl. I won't presume to judge for yourselves. And here's what really gets me. If this is true, and I'm not claiming it's true, it's just how the pieces fit together, then Sally becomes the strongest character in the whole movie. Not because she's beautiful or smart, but because she went through the bottom and pulled herself out of it on her own. Reinvented herself from scratch. Nobody helped her, she had no savior. She simply decided she'd become someone else, and she did. And when she later lectures McQueen about how there are things in life more important than fame and speed, those aren't the empty words of a nice girl. That's coming from someone who truly knows the price of falling and the price of a second chance. She's not a theorist, she lived it. That's why her words hit him so hard. And that's why he changes around her, and not around anyone else, because she's the only one in the whole town who speaks from experience, not from books. So next time you see Sally Carrera, don't look at the polite motel owner. Look at that thin line on her body and ask yourself what kind of life stands behind that mark. Because the way I see it, what's in front of us isn't the main character's love interest. It's a car who lived a whole story before we ever met her, and who still hasn't told us all of it.